We are
now. Welcome, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. Sorry for the late start. Had some stuff I had to deal with this morning. You know about that stuff y'all have to deal with. Well, I had to deal with some stuff. We got the stuff done. Most of it.
all right. Here's that intro.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
NFL quarterback to Hollywood, to the mayor's office, and now behind the mic at KXEX. This is the Alan Autry Show. No retreat.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall.
What the hell's going on out here? Everybody grabbing out there. Nobody. That the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Today, I consider myself the luckiest man on the face of the earth.
I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
So, 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Unbelievable. We are live.
And welcome to Alan Autry No Retreat. It's Big Wednesday, and I am flying solo today. Many of you wish I was flying so low that you couldn't hear me. You remember that old joke? Can you sing so low that I can't hear you? I've been told that at least 1,000 times in my life, thinking I can sing. I even had my wife yell at me. It was clear across the house when I was in the shower, way across the house. And I'm laying into some Elvis number. I think the U.S. mail. Better not mess with the U.S. mail, my friend. You mess with the U.S. mail, you're going to do you in. And I hear way out. Honey, that's you? I said, do what? Keep on singing. Okay, thanks, honey. You better not mess when she comes to the door. No, please, will you stop singing? I can hear you back. I'm trying to make you dinner, and you're distracting me. You're not Elvis. Get over it. You will never be Elvis. But she said it somewhat nice way. But anyway, welcome to the show. Flying solo here. We usually have Mr. Larry Powell, but he and his lovely wife, Dot, are taking care of some business down in L.A. that was on the schedule. Usually have Guillermo Marino, but it's a big day for Guillermo and his wife, Esther. It is their anniversary. Yeah. Now, I don't know how many years. I've got my 27th coming up here later this week. But congratulations. Also, this week, I don't know the name, but the day, but Jeremy just filled me in. Pastor Jim Franklin, who you can hear every day, usually at 3 o'clock. Great show. I mean, nobody breaks it down like Jim Franklin as he is my role model. I wish I was 1/10 as good on this show as Jim Franklin is. Even his off days are 100% better than mine. And he's a pastor too. He's a great pastor, Cornerstone Church, but he was a drama major, I believe, in high school, and he just really does a great job. But he and his wife Cindy, from what I understand, are celebrating their anniversary this week sometime, so he won't be on the show. They're off taking some well-deserved R&R. Okay, where do we get? Okay, I keep asking, hey, are you guys going back to work, meaning the actors? When I run into some folks, you guys still striking, this and that? From what I understand, yes, we're still striking. There was a kind of a small deal cut between the Screen Actors Guild leadership and certain independent companies that would allow them to work, but not the big boys, not Warner Brothers, Paramount, 20th Century. Well, they're not 20th Century Fox anymore; they're just Fox. But all the major studios, the strike is still on with the writers and the actors. And I'm sitting there going, I was starting to get a little heat going. I was starting to make a little bit, a tiny little comeback for me in my little measly career. It was significant. I got cast at my age, 70 years old, on an episode of Tulsa King. Sly Everett even said I did a good job and looking forward to working with me the next season 2. Great working with him. Super guy, by the way. I don't care what you've heard. This guy is a really good man. And if you get a chance, check out his reality series, Family Stallone. It's unlike any reality series that's out there. I mean, there's a lot of real crap, dysfunctional stuff that when you watch it, you need therapy because you're watching, it seems like every time I turn a channel, and I don't mean to be this disrespectful. It just seems it's pervasive on all the networks. It's just a bunch of drunk, usually mature, supposedly older women, dressed to the nines, sitting out on the patio, throwing back wine and vodka, and inevitably somebody's going to say something that somebody doesn't like, and next thing they're calling everybody every name in the book. I mean, using language that would make the locker room of the Oakland Raiders blush. Just say it left and right. And the family Stallone is not like that. I met his daughter briefly just to say hello when I did my show. It just so happened that my episode that I did with my scene, prior to that, she had done her last scene for the season. She's on the show. And they all clapped for her. And it was a great moment to see her hugging her dad and this and that. And I guess Sly was obviously gone during the heyday of his career. He was gone a lot. I can relate to that. I was gone over half of a year for 6 seasons, and really wished I could see my daughter more. Thank goodness for family members, mother, my daughter's mother, and my grandmother helped raise my oldest daughter, Lauren. But it was tough. And then you become mayor, and you weigh a lot too. And Kim and the other kids had to put up with that. But anyway, it's just a great show. You get the feeling that they're not doing that show just to put on. They're having fun with it. They're real. So anyway, if you get a chance, check that out. But my major point was old dudes like me and Stallone. Stallone's older than me. He just turned 77. My other friend, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he just turned 76, and he's got his series, Fubar. I don't know what a Fubar here. I used to play professional Fubar. No, I was professional football. No, the way I played it, it probably looked like Fubar. That's why I became an actor pretty quick. 3 seasons in the NFL, stood for not for long, as I always say. But you've got Schwarzenegger, 76. I just turned 71. And you're thinking, man, don't shut it down now. I don't have enough time to strike. I mean, man, every week and month is precious, But like William Shatner said the other day, he's 91. He wants to work. He says, look, time is precious. I feel the end coming, he says. And I love Shatner. I just love his acting and just love him off camera. He's supposedly really a great guy. In fact, he says, call me Bill, not William. So I give you just a little insight on what kind of guy he is. But he said, look, I may drop dead during this interview or live 10 more years, but, the end is near. I can feel it. And us old guys, I'm not going to speak for the women, because women don't get old in my book. They just mature beautifully. But us men, we get old. And there's only certain parts out there that you have a chance at, because it's the world is for the young. Every once in a while in a show, the Succession show, which took the viewership by storm, had a lead character that was 76. I think the actor's name was Cranston. I mean, they're out there once in a while, but you don't get them that often. So we're sitting there going, man, settle this strike. But I will tell you this. They need to take the main issue of this streaming, and that's one issue because actors get next to zilch on that. No residuals. Netflix is the biggest perpetrator of that. They pay you once and that's it. And they make gazillions off of you in reruns, but the actor gets nothing. And most actors do not cash Schwarzenegger and Stallone-sized paychecks. Many of them are living from show to show. Makeup people, wardrobe people, working class people is what makes up most of working Hollywood. Not the Keanu Reeves of the world, the Tom Cruise. Those are the anomalies. Just like when it's so, and good, by and large, really good people. But you have this other issue dealing with AI, artificial intelligence. Right now, they can almost replicate. I mean, it'd be hard for you to tell the difference. They'd take my ugly mug right here. They would put it in a freaking computer, and they'd spit it out, and I'd start talking stuff that AI produced, an AI produced script, which they can do that already, and it's supposed to be pretty darn good. So you wonder why the writers are striking. Okay, AI produced script of a story of, say, Heat of the Night, the later years. You could take my face and every cast member on there, put it in the computers. That computer spits it out, puts it up there, and I defy you to tell the difference, even at this early stage of AI. And thank goodness to Fran Drescher, the union leadership. I've never said I've been anti-union. I'm not anti-organized labor, because the antithesis of anti-organized labor is illegal immigration. When you ship, why? Because you can't unionize illegal behavior, illegal activity. That's why Cesar Chavez was so against illegal immigration. You can't get people together. Why? Because they broke the law. So anyway, and certainly artificial intelligence wouldn't be those characters that they create, the movies they make. There's no union to deal with. There's no residuals to pay because actually the character doesn't exist, but it looks exactly like me, Sylvester Stallone, all these young actors. And if you think that, well, Hollywood would never go there, they would never throw the actors to the wolves. Just think again, they are big corporate entities. And their number one line in the movie, the line business, is not like, hey, give me my line in this scene. Their line, the only thing they care about is the bottom line. How much money are they making? And when those business folks, there are people that project how much money they can save, they went all AI, all artificial intelligence in Hollywood, the actors, the writers, everything. And they put that spreadsheet in front of these studio heads and these corporate boards that are just looking at the latest price on their stock. Paramount, again, Fox, Amazon, and they see all these savings. Trust me, they will go there eventually if they're not stopped right now. And that's why they're striking. And you know what? I have to just suck it up. I may never work again. I might be 72, 73, maybe dead under whatever. I'm an old dude. And I think Stallone feels the same way. And a lot of actors, older actors, feel the same way. There's certain issues as worthy of striking, and there's issues that are not. And we have struck before as actors, which I didn't support at all, because I didn't think the industry and the acting profession was really threatened. It was just about getting more of what we were already getting. And I believe in work. And again, I can think of several times that the actors either struck or were threatening to strike that I just didn't quite go along with. But this one, not for me, but my son's an actor. You have young actors in this business, and they say, well, it's just acting, it's just movies, and that's not really important in life. And I heard this phrase a lot. Well, you're not curing cancer making movies, movie stars, movie actors, and I agree, we're not. But I will also tell you this: no, making some good television for people to escape their daily challenges from being able to go to a theater and be kind of taken away with a story, kind of put the cares of life aside for just a while and get engrossed in a well-told story and a well-acted story. Might not cure cancer, but it might make them forget they got it for an hour or 2 hours. And there's some value to that. There's some real value, I think, to society, because I saw my mother in her later years. She watched Eve the Night, surprise, surprise. But that TV and being able, she loved Barney Miller. Barney Miller would make her laugh, and she was dealing with a lot of stuff: congestive heart failure, arthritis, legs. She was borderline diabetic. I mean, she was tough for her to get around, especially in her late 70s and early 80s. But she's a tough gal. But I remember sitting there with her and just watching her laugh, belly laugh at Barney Miller, that TV show. And I know for that 30 minutes, she wasn't thinking about how much time she had left, which was not much. The doctor had told her that. And there is value when you have the power to bless people with that. So, no, movie business, TV business is not curing cancer, but I think it is a real positive, can be, asset to the quality of lives of many. It can be misused. A lot of trash coming out of Hollywood. There's no doubt about that. And I agree with you 100%. A lot of stuff that's not good for young people in particular, but it's not good for anybody. Like I said, I don't care about watching Orange County Housewives, a bunch of drunk ladies. I mean, I don't know how that enriches anything except getting you to shower a little bit more. I have to shower after I watch it. Even if I've showered before, I feel dirty after watching it. But anyway, that's what it'll take. Jeremy, let's take a break. And we come back. We're going to talk about this latest, indictment out of Georgia. My third home. Fresno's my top home. Well, four. Shreveport, born in Shreveport. Raised much in San Joaquin Valley. Fresno's like a home to me. L.A. because I chased the movie business there for about 10 years, but also spent about 9 years almost in Georgia. And I love that state. But I got to sit here and say, I have never been more ashamed of folks, not all of them, but this DA. We're going to break it down. What a complete embarrassment to not only Georgia, but the entire profession of district attorneys. We'll be right back. Dr. J, how long was that segment?
About 25 minutes.
So we've got how much more of the show left? About what now? I can't hear you, bud. 30? All righty. We can come back anytime you want to, brother. Hey, Jeremy. You can look it up later, but there's a song by, it's the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. I think it's Take a Load Off Fanny. Yeah. We need to take a load off Fanny. We'll be talking about this issue quite a bit, though, so you don't have to. Okay. Anytime you're ready, buddy.
I'm good to go.
Let's do her.
All right, here we go.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
And welcome to Alan Autry. No retreat, clear. Greetings, Clearwater, run through the jungle. Man, they got former President Trump running through the jungle. Fourth indictment. He is running, but I'll tell you, he sent out a tweet and something on social media that said, he is just not going to give up. It means going to jail for the rest of his life. He believes strongly that what's happening here is not only a miscarriage of justice, but is something that will affect this country to the negative and could be the start of the beginning of the end, if that makes sense, of American democracy as we know it. Because as he said, if they can do this, they can indict him on four indictments. You got New York, Washington, D.C., a couple there, I believe, and now Georgia. This absolute conspiracy together to bring this president down simply because he questioned the election results. That's what it boils down to the basics. They can tell you, seek to overturn. Listen, I've told you before, I am not a Donald Trump fan in terms of a person. He's a very savvy, very brutal businessman, but he's very careful as he pushes the envelope not to go across the line and do something intentionally illegal. That's why he survived so long in New York. They didn't like him in New York. They looked at his tax records every year. They tried to find him on something. And they were told, even when we had business here in Fresno with him, he pushed the envelope, but he never crossed the line. And this here, the term I guess is gaslit. Again, gaslight. And you can see this conspiracy of the DAs, the Department of Justice, the media, by and large, the whole media, and the political ruling class elite, which includes some Trump-hating Republicans and pretty much every Democrat, colluding. Let's say colluding in a criminal fashion. Conspiracies. I mean, conspiracies happen that are not illegal, but there's absolutely a conspiracy with the timing of the indictments. These DAs are talking to each other across state lines. They're talking with the Democratic leadership. They're talking with Amazon, Facebook, all of these big executives, and keeping them abreast of what's going on. I mean, it's just common sense. And again, whether you love Trump, hate Trump, whether you think he should be thrown in jail or not, as they say, there's a tired, worn-out phrase, and I'm going to use it because it doesn't make it any less true because it's been used a lot. And that phrase is, it is what it is. And it's not what it's not. You mean to tell me that in a election, when a president is running for re-election, you have 5 so-called battleground states, which he won in the previous election by a small margin, give you that, absolutely, but he won. Hillary Clinton proceeded to say the election was stolen, that the president was illegitimate, has said that from the day the election was certified till today. Last night, I saw her on TV still saying it with no repercussions, with total impunity, saying he is an illegitimate president. In other words, break it down. What is the difference between saying that and saying the election was rigged? Do you folks get that? People I really respect on the other side of the aisle, Democrats, are smarter than me. But this isn't rocket science. It's basic knowledge. You say, pick up rock, hit you in the head, will hurt. You can't say, well, no, pick up rock, hit you in the head, won't hurt. There's some things that are absolutely obvious. This is one of them. She's out there saying exactly the same thing that this president, and backed it up. She erased all of her emails, and people can, the Clinton email thing, you're not using that again. Oh, the whataboutism of that, Autry, this and that. Well, yeah, I'm using it again because you swatted away like it's a new useless gnat just bugging you when it's absolutely empirical evidence of her guilt. I'm not going to swat that away. You're not going to wear me down when this kind of miscarriage of justice happens. You can't have 2 levels of government. Oh, there you go, Autry, you're mimicking Fox. I was saying that before Fox. You guys used to get on to me that Tucker Carlson, you're just mimicking Tucker Carlson, mimicking Sean Hannity, mimicking this, mimicking that, heard that, this. I'd like to bring it to your attention as I did back then. My show came on before theirs. I was live at 12 noon saying these things. It may surprise you because I'm not the brightest chrome on the bumper, but I do have a brain, and it's my own brain. And I keep an open mind. Not so open that my brain falls out. And I keep an open heart. But I'm going to make sure my soul doesn't fall out either when I keep my heart open to things. This, when you just take a step back, set down your deep hatred. Dadgum, Jeremy, they hate this guy. I mean, it's pathological. I mean, you got the lieutenant governor who just brazenly said of Georgia, lieutenant governor, saying, this is our chance to take him down now. It's our turn. Your turn to do what? What did he do to you? What did he do to you? He said, find me 11. I need to find 11,000 votes. We're going to get into that. That's what they're hanging their whole RICO case on, that Fannie Willis is hanging. It's absolutely absurd. But first of all, let me button up this preface here, this lead-in. If you were running for president, you were Hillary Clinton, you were Mitt Romney, you were Barack Obama, and you had COVID hit. And because COVID hit in an election, presidential election, you have a government that decides that it's going to arbitrarily change all of the election rules that exist because of COVID. By that, I mean, if you fill out an absentee ballot, there's certain rules and guidelines you have to work by. We won't get into it. But it's not a blanket deal. You have to follow some rules on absentee ballots. Because why? Because we would have already done everything by mail if there wasn't suspicions and strong probabilities that doing paper voting only mail-ins would be ripe for corruption. It's easy to go in and put in fake ballots, fake IDs, what have you. That's why they hadn't done it before. It would always be easier rather than get up and go to the poll. One of the main reasons they didn't do it, including the Democrats, was the probability of some shenanigans being perpetrated through mail-in ballots alone. COVID, mail-in, make sure everybody gets a ballot. Then, by the way, ballot harvesting came into it. Now, you talk about pushing the envelope. They didn't go in and fill the ballot out for the individual. But we know for a fact, and they admitted to it in Georgia, you think they're the only state that did this? By this, I mean going to people who historically never voted, got them registered, whether they were coherent or not, whether they were sober or not, got them to fill it out, sign it, and give them, I suspect, a little trinket, what have you. Thank you very much. Here's $5, or here's a McDonald's hamburger. You know people out there on the street, places that would do that. I know them. You give me a little bit, yeah, vote. Who do you want to vote for? They started ballot harvesting. Okay. Then you have drop boxes all over the country, and particularly in the battleground states, because it was part of the strategy from the Democrats and these folks to get Trump the moment he came down that escalator. They didn't think he was going to be elected. He was elected. So in 2016, this started. It gave him almost 3.5 years to do this stuff. Then you have the polling places where, for some inexplicable reason, poll watchers in many of the precincts, and usually the ones that ran Democratic, but also those who historically would run a Republican majority, the folks were not allowed, the poll watchers, to get close enough to even watch what the tabulators were doing. Now, that's just 4 irregularities that did not happen in any other election. So you're a candidate, and you start losing these battleground states. Okay, but here's another thing that makes you think, wait a minute. Do you guys remember election night? I do, because I remember it was awfully odd. Because you'd see the president in these battleground states take a lead, and invariably, almost 100% of the time, the next tallies had Biden taking the lead. Only after the Republic, and I'm going, wait a minute, that's back and forth. What's going on? I mean, where are they counting this? How are they counting? Are they holding votes back? Are they strategically making them available or sending them to headquarters for tabulation to the media in some system? What's going on? You saw it in every single battleground states, in particular in Michigan, but in Georgia, it was glaring. And in precincts that the president took in 2016. So you say, what is going on? Are they so scattered? Because I spent a lot of time in Georgia. There's rural areas in Georgia that it's tough to get to. I can see them tabulations coming in later and that sort of thing. But you would say, use the vernacular, well, we're leading, but they're probably going to find some votes over in precinct 67 out in the woods. They're going to find some there, meaning the tabulators are going to find some votes. Do you know that in most elections, especially in a massive election like the presidency, there are votes that don't ever get counted. They never do get turned in. It's just the massiveness of the thing. The system is not foolproof. So usually it doesn't matter because the margins of victory are not so razor thin like Gore versus Bush, Clinton versus Trump, Biden versus Trump. But when they are razor thin like that, it's important that you find every vote that's been cast out there. Doesn't mean, and so they're hanging this statement that President Trump made to this fellow Raffensperger, I believe is his name, and what the lieutenant governor of Georgia said when he told, and he's on a conference call, by the way. The guy may be mean, you may not like him, may be crude, and all of those things, but he's not dumb. Folks, do you know it wasn't just a one-on-one call? A lot of people don't know that. There was a ton of people on that call. Lawyers on both sides. There were probably 10, 15 people on that conference call. You don't think he knew he was being recorded by somebody? Come on. So when you say to this fella, the clerk or secretary of state, whatever his title was, he was in charge of the election. Look, I need to find 11,600 votes. That would get victory. What he's saying, obviously, is make sure you canvass that state before you call this election. Make sure you canvass everywhere because there could be 1,000 over in Buckhead that you missed. That haven't reported. There's little hamlets out all over Georgia. There's rural towns that add up 500 here, 1,000 here, 1,100 here, 200 here. Make sure you find them all. It's obvious that's what he meant. Yet that statement to the DA, Fani Willis, and to Jack Smith, the Washington Special Counsel, they are taking words, statements that any rational individual would say, all right, he could have said it better, but I guarantee you he didn't mean this. He didn't mean I need to find 11,600 votes. I know he didn't mean to tell the Secretary of State of Georgia, go print out some fake ballots for me. Get real. But the thing is, that's all you got on this guy. You hate him so freaking much. You hate him more than you love your country. You could give a rat's behind the precedent this is setting. You know, if you succeed with this, folks who support this, you will rue the day you did this. It's going to destroy this. We may never come back from this because truly, if they can do this to Trump, they are coming after you. And you better get out of this habit, this sickness, this pathology, that when he happens to say something that's true, you discount it because he said it. I know you hate it. You know some of the best advice I've ever gotten? Some of the most valuable things I've ever listened to and learned came from people that as a Christian I love, but personally I detested them. They were not good human beings, but they had some truth. You know? I mean, you can't have death by authorship and have a civil society. Right is right, wrong is wrong. And I tell you, you better pay attention. If they pull this off and they send this man to jail and they fold their arms and they chuckle at the mug shot, which is coming up in Georgia, and they sitting there and he's rotting in prison. You know what's rotting along with him in prison? This country and the Constitution and the rule of law. And they will come after you because the precedent has been set. This lady in, let's take a break and we come back. We're going to break down this Georgia a little bit, this Georgia indictment. It's going to blow your mind, folks. But this is big stuff happening in this country. This cannot, I pray God this does not happen. If they're successful with this, basically the undoing of the Constitution and undoing of democracy here in our country. We'll be right back. How much time we got, Jeremy?
Got about 13 and a half minutes.
Okay. Can you, I kind of glance up every now and then when I get on a riff there, but you want to give me, you'll start the music. If I don't take another break, yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, we've only been doing it for a year. Folks, I'll tell you, serious stuff. Tomorrow I want to talk about the Ukraine. That's another serious thing. We have got to get out of there. You got to get those folks to the peace table. Because Putin is getting madder and meaner every moment. And that's not, hey, Hitler was mad and mean too, but it was pre-atomic bomb world back then. You just have to fight things differently. And you think that Putin, if you got rid of Putin, things would be great over there. Have you seen some of the guys behind this guy that are next in line? That'll make the short hairs on your neck stand up. Dmitry Medvedev, he says, a former president, hey, when it comes to nuclear war on the battlefield, that's what it comes to. Because once we think we are facing an existential threat, meaning a threat to our very existence as a country, we will use them. I have absolutely zero doubt that he will. Which one did I say? All right, we ready?
Yep. All right, here we go.
Turn it up.
This hour of the Alan Autry Show is sponsored by Sinlaw, the most realistic artificial grass in the Central Valley.
All right, I want you to saddle up on a horse next to me and let's take a little stroll through these charges. We only have a few minutes left in the show, but what we leave hanging, believe me, it's going to be around a long, long time, probably a year and a half before this ever gets resolved, unless it gets thrown out on appeal, which it's got a chance. But stay with me. This gal, I'm sorry, this lady, can't use gal. Gal's a term of endearment for me, always has been. This lady, DA, and I only say lady because you got to genderize everything. Or person. Maybe that'll make some other folks happy. But the lady in Georgia that was elected DA in Fulton County. And by the way, I've told you before, let me backstep. I have a deep affection for the state. Great, great people. We shot He the Night there between 1988 and 1995. Spent most of my time there in that state. Wonderful people, wonderful state, rich in history, good, level-headed folks. Atlanta, beautiful city, very little crime. It's just going by way of San Francisco now. It's just crazy. And the insanity is no more apparent than in this decision by Fani Willis, who absolutely, as you can tell, listening to her give this indictment, these count after count after count, the joy and enthusiasm in her voice. Her hair was done perfectly. And they made sure they made the announcement during prime time. Made sure the grand jury, trust me, in Georgia, they released the results at just the right time. She could come out there in prime time, be covered by all the networks, and lay out this indictment against Trump. Again, the cornerstone and foundation of the case is the phone call when Trump said, I need to find 11,600 votes to that effect. Well, that kick-started with this DA, a RICO charged indictment. Now, in just in simple terms, what a RICO law is, and it's very hard to implement because it usually gets struck down on appeal. But if you have a good case and you can make that case, it can be effective, especially when you're dealing with legitimate conspiracies with a lot of people. For example, the mafia. Well, this RICO law conspiracy charge involves 19 people. And she's going to try all 19 of those people at the same time. They're all going to have individual lawyers. I mean, it is almost all the experts, Democrat, Republican, liberal lawyers, conservative lawyers have said this is really a whole lot. Can it be done? Yeah, but you're not going to get it done in 6 months. Yes, that's what Fani Willis wants to do. Try 19 people and get it done in 6 months. That should tell you right now the incompetence that you're dealing with and the rush to get this done during the election before it's all said and done. She believes, along with this conspiracy, and I'll gladly lay out the reasons why I call it a conspiracy, and you all who disagree can come back why it's not. I'm all up for that. It is clearly a conspiracy with all of these charges, the D's in New York and Washington and the Democratic political elite and the media. Every time my news feed's always on Trump indicted, Trump's in trouble, Trump this, Trump that, Trump that. Nothing on Hunter Biden, nothing on the Ukraine. Why? Because they support the war in Ukraine, they support Hunter Biden. And people understand that. That's why when they do crazy bat doo-doo things like this, Trump's approval ratings go up. They can't understand it. Why? Because we're dodos. People that support Trump are idiots. They never believed in smaller government, lower taxes, a secure border, low crime before Trump came along. If you can get rid of Orange Man, they'll be for open borders, protecting the criminal instead of the crime, wars and foreign wars that you can't win, out of control inflation, and heavy, heavy taxes. That's what they think. I'm not kidding you, folks. You just watch. I've been watching a lot of liberal media with an open mind. Like I said, I'm not going to let my brain fall out, but I've been watching this stuff. Because I said, I really want to know what's going on. They adamantly, they have to believe in this stuff. And what do they really think of the opposition? And most of them, and I hate to say this, including people like Mitt Romney, certainly Adam Kinzinger, certainly Liz Cheney, have zero respect for the intellect of anyone unless you've got a degree from a major university that says you're smart. No matter how dumb and stupid you act, you've got that degree from Harvard that says you're smart, and you need to listen to me. And if you don't listen to me, I'm going to get the power to control you and make you listen to me. And if you still don't listen to me, I'm going to go after you and throw you in prison for the rest of your freaking life, whether you're ex-president or you're on a school board in Virginia. We are coming after you if you don't toe the line. That is basically what they're saying. And you're talking about an independent. People that know me know I have a lot of patience with both parties. I believe in a two-party system. We're used to. I grew up where part of the equation of being a good candidate that had to be adhered to, you had to have this quality if you're going to be elected, especially federal office, president, Congress, what have you. If you were either a Democrat or Republican, in your primaries and in your town forums, you were inevitably going to be asked this question. Mr. Candidate, Mrs. Candidate, can you reach across the aisle and work with the other party? It was always asked. It was a fundamental foundational tenet of our functioning democracy. And they all said yes. If you ask that same question today, one half of the country, because it's a 50-50 country, are you willing to work with the other half of the country and maybe compromise on issues and principles? If you say yes, you will not make it out of that primary. Ronald Reagan never would make it out of the primary today, Republican primary. John F. Kennedy, that John F. Kennedy, not the John Kennedy from Louisiana, the John F. Kennedy that inspired a nation, who brought all the parties together, who created Camelot. We all felt good, Republican, Democrat, because what? He could work with the other parties. He sought out Republicans to work with. He would get primaried in the Democratic primary quickly. And they would have. So that's the environment we're dealing in. But here, back to how much time we got, Jeremy? A few minutes? 5 minutes? Okay. So you got 19 indictments on a RICO charge. Here's the stickler with RICO. You have to prove what's in the mind of what was in the mind when the crime took place of the people that you've charged. Rudy Giuliani was able to do that with the mafia. Got a bunch of tapes, a bunch of real incriminating phone call tapes, not the Trump thing, which is totally a exaggerated. We already talked about that. But that's the foundational component. You got to keep that in mind. And I urge you, listen to it. Listen to the whole conversation. But you have to establish without a reasonable doubt, that President Trump knew he had lost the election, got 18 other people who actually believed they lost the election, and attempt to overturn it knowing full well they had lost, meaning they accepted every vote that was counted. They accepted that there was no malfunction in the machines. They accepted there was no inconsistencies that could affect the outcome. And we just went over all the different things that happened. I would say this. If it was Hillary Clinton in that situation, Joe Biden, it was reversed. They were the incumbent, won all those battleground states, had all of those alterations to the voting machinations happen, all of those things during COVID, and you lose by a razor-thin margin in every battleground state and see the totals flip-flop back and forth, and you have a party who said, we're going to get you from the moment you became president, you would be a fool not to think it was stolen from you. You would really or think that there's something wrong with the process. If not stolen, there's something, because I'm going to say stolen, I'm going to take out Facebook. So you guys will know, I don't know if we're still on there. No, you would have some real concerns. And they did. And they started asking questions. They wanted to see the machines. They wanted to go on the ground in Georgia. They wanted to investigate these totals about why the poll watchers were made to move away, why there were so many drop boxes. Was every absentee ballot filled out correctly with an ID? All of these things, that's what they know. Then the concept to believe, and you're going to hear this all the time. You're already here. This attack on democracy, trying to overthrow a legitimate election. First of all, none of those 19, including the president, no matter what they found, would have the ability to overthrow the election. It would have to go through the legal process. You find some stuff. You find there was ballots that may not have been counted in a rural county where the guy was supposed to bring them in, fell asleep or whatever, had a bad day, took off, and they're laying there. I mean, I don't know. You couldn't, if you found a machine, say that did happen. I'm just saying as a hypothetical, that you did find a machine that was malfunctioning and was given 2-1 votes to Biden over Trump, just as a hypothetical. All you can do is discover that. You can't go in, fix the machine, bring your voting machine mechanics, fix the machine correctly, and do it and say, now we want to retroactively overturn the election. You don't have the power to adjudicate that. There's no possible way these 19 individuals could have overthrown. The point, what you're seeing is this unprecedented historic attack, weaponizing the federal government, the state government, to go after a man they do not like, who they desperately want to get rid of, and will do anything. Literally, the ends justify the means, including lying. It's like that comparison they're making. It's really true. If you think you're fighting Hitler, you're free to do and say anything. If you're fighting the devil, honesty doesn't mean anything to you. Your word doesn't mean anything to you. You do and say anything, put anybody in jail of the devil's associates. Paul Manafort, the same charge, much less charges, but than Hunter Biden's facing in terms of not registering with FARA on his lobbying. He goes to prison quickly. Hunter Biden's still out there roaming around trying to get in. They tip the hat to the judge who said not so fast. Looks like that case may be taking a different turn, maybe. Tomorrow we're going to talk about that DA, not DA, attorney, United States Attorney's guy, David Weiss, and what a mockery that situation is. But folks, thanks for tuning in. I know I get a little passionate about these things, but this has to be stopped. We have to do everything we can with whatever platform God has given you, whether it's behind a mic or at the dinner table, Now, I'm not saying let it take over your life, but you gotta put a little place on your plate for this, because this is really, really important stuff. And the decisions we make in terms of standing up to this craziness is without a doubt going to determine the type of country our kids and grandkids inherit. Love you. God bless you. Just do your best and let God do the rest. And I'll see you all here, God willing, tomorrow. Bye-bye now.